Here is the XRP ETF from BlackRock. In this video, we'll talk about just that, because there have been a lot of ETFs that have come over the finish line and some that have been late. What do I want to talk about in this video? These XRP ETFs and BlackRock's role in this whole thing. This is very interesting to me because the XRP ETFs are likely to bring billions of dollars into the XRP economy, are most likely going to be a big reason why prices go up. Today, I'd like to talk about those ETFs and how they will affect XRP as well as when they will finally emerge. As always, guys, your help means a lot to this channel. Thank you to everyone who liked the movies and signed up for the channel. These two easy things help me a lot. Also, if you want to buy some XRP, check out my best exchange, which is linked at the bottom of this video's description. But still, don't listen to it all the way through. I hope you guys enjoy it. The whole story of the BlackRock XRP ETF is very interesting. Many of you know that BlackRock has been trying to get an XRP ETF for a few years now. Now, this was finally thrown out. Some people said it was a fake file. They said they would look into who filed a fake BlackRock XRP ETF. But no one was caught. A lot of people were wondering how someone could file a fake ETF with the SEC when they needed to be registered in order to do so. And many people wondered if BlackRock had just filed for the ETF to see how the market reacted and then said, oh, by the way, that wasn't us. The whole thing was opaque. Don't think about what just happened. What happened there is still a mystery to us, but we do know that many ETFs are now being filed and brought to the finish line. In fact, the first futures and the first futures ETF just went live. Now, if you remember what happened with Bitcoin, this is pretty much what happened here. Bitcoin futures were the first thing that went live, next came a futures ETF, and finally spot ETFs. Now, spot ETFs and futures ETFs are not at all the same. There is no cash in the futures ETFs. Everything they do is based on the price of Bitcoin. In reality, they don't buy Bitcoin. They don't actually stop the way supply and demand work so that Bitcoin can change. They can change the price of Bitcoin, but not as much as a spot Bitcoin ETF. Spot Bitcoin ETFs take Bitcoin right off the open market. That's not what the futures ETFs do. There are a lot of people who want to know when the spot XRP ETFs will truly come out. The important thing is that we now have futures ETFs. That's a very good start. In essence, the regulators are saying, okay, we don't always trust the pricing data that comes from Coinbase and these other exchanges, but we do trust the pricing data that comes from the CME. In this case, the futures were released by the CME, and they are basically this. They will look at reliable price data and decide, okay, now that we have this reliable price data, we can do a futures ETF. After the futures ETF has been up and running for a while, they can say, okay, this is going to work. We can now do a spot ETF. The spot ETFs have already been applied for, but it looks like they might not go live for a while longer. The first few delays are now being reported, which, to be honest, isn't that surprising. We kind of knew that these spot ETFs would take a while to go live. It looks like Paul Atkins is new to the SEC. It's probably not going to happen that these spot ETFs would be accepted right away. That's what we're seeing now. The XRP spot ETF has been delayed for the first time and it will remain delayed until June 17th. We won't really know what to do about this until October at the earliest. So I think those spot ETFs will go live sometime between the middle of summer and the end of summer or in the fall, in the middle of those dates. It doesn't seem likely that the SEC will put these things off just because they can. What we can see is that Paul Atkins, the new head of the SEC, is very pro-crypto, not just pro-Bitcoin. Paul Atkins has a lot of shares in a lot of different Bitcoin companies, which shows that he's not just interested in Bitcoin, he wants the best for the whole Bitcoin business. I find it very interesting where BlackRock fits in this picture. There have been reports from inside BlackRock that XRP will be their next ETF. I accept these reports and think they are correct. I think that BlackRock doesn't want to change the price of XRP too much before their ETF starts trading. I get the feeling that BlackRock is trying to keep their XRP ETF pretty secret for some reason. From what I can tell, they're probably waiting a little longer to be sure of when these things will actually go live. It's clear that BlackRock won't need a lot of time to file for this ETF. We also saw that all of the Bitcoin ETFs went live at the same time. In my opinion, BlackRock is just waiting a little longer to file for their spot ETF until they know for sure that these spot ETFs will be accepted. What's the point of being in the application line the whole time, getting all the attention for the ETF and being asked all the questions, when you want to keep it quiet. I think BlackRock will wait until almost the last day they can file to get it in the first group of people who can approve it. If BlackRock really did file the first XRP ETF that I talked about earlier in the video, then it's clear that they didn't like the attention they got for it or how it affected the market, and they're trying to keep XRP low. From what we can see now, it's clear that BlackRock is waiting to file for their ETF until the date it goes live is closer. There's a bit of a question mark under this. In other words, my question is whether the link between Ripple and BlackRock is as simple as on the surface. There is evidence that Ripple has worked with many of the largest banks in the United States. Also, the person in charge of digital assets at BlackRock used to work for Ripple and built the XRP price calculator. These aren't people who don't know what XRP is. They even made models and estimates of how high XRP could go. Could it be that BlackRock doesn't want too many people to buy XRP before they're ready? That's just a guess, though we don't really know the answer to that. From my point of view, though, everything seems to be leading to that one result. The head of digital assets at BlackRock used to work for Ripple, and as we talked about, it looks like BlackRock may have already filed one of these ETFs, but didn't send it because they didn't like how the market responded to it. Now they're holding off on filing the next XRP ETF even though many reports say they want to. I think BlackRock will be a part of the XRP community. They're already out there saying that public blockchains are the way of the future for the next generation of banks. It's not clear to me how Bitcoin will be the future of any new banking system. It's not likely they'll do it on Ethereum either. It's clear that there are XRP ties and they seem to be holding things up for as long as possible for some reason. I think they know where this is all going. In the long run, these spot ETFs will be very important to the XRP economy. It was really tough to get money into XRP for a long time. They made it very hard to enter the US. On top of that, XRP hasn't really been talked about in the news either. Online, everything I know comes from people like me and other people in the same situation. It's mostly community-driven with the goal of keeping most people out. Believe that these ETFs will really bring billions of dollars into this economy. JP Morgan has already said that they think the launch of these XRP ETFs will bring in between $8.00 and $10 billion in the first year. The XRP community has never seen this much money come in before. These are the kinds of trades that could make the price of XRP go through the roof. The XRP ratio is between 500% and 600% right now. To put it another way, every dollar spent in XRP has an impact on its market value of 500 to 600 times that amount. Just think about what would happen if $5 to $6 billion came into XRP. The effects would be out of this world. Any of these banks that really want to use the XRP system and will need XRP will want to make sure they have a plan in place before they start. The price of XRP will go through the roof before they decide to get some. They won't want to wait for these goods to go live and then